Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob, Film Fight Edition. Film Fight.
Film Fight.
I want to do it like Dog Show.
Dog Show.
Yeah, that was the vibe I got.
Yeah.
Film Fight. I am your host, Seth, the Slayer Halligan. How are we doing, nicknames? I just came up with one.
Oh,
So good and accurate.
Because it's a film fight, you know.
Yeah.
Next to murdering Mariah
Yeah.
here in the
Yeah.
studio. And still punctual Pat out in Seattle.
nothing like showing up to a fight on time. Right?
With a pointy. You could have a pointy
He
stick.
could be the puncturing Pat.
Oh.
Yeah. The pointy Pat.
Pokey Pat.
Sharp
He
pointy
just
teeth.
points at people. He doesn't actually
Yeah.
hurt anybody.
Pointing.
He's just pointing.
Hey.
Hey, you.
Hey,
Hey.
you see what you're
Enough.
doing?
These
Enough.
films are fighting.
Guys, this is this number 4 of the film fight series?
This is our 4th film fight.
Film fight.
Although there's like an unofficial film fight.
Yes.
We just separated them.
The Magnificent Seven and Seven Samurai does get an
Yes.
unofficial mention, and arguably the first, because we didn't do it on purpose, but we both watched both versions when we watched.
You
Seven
kind of had
Samurai,
to
yeah.
know.
You had to know.
You had to.
Well, today we're going into a similar fashion. Both movies are critically acclaimed. Easy for me to say. Both movies are in different languages. And
That's true.
Both movies, let's just say it. They're the same thing.
And they were both released within the last 10 years.
The problem with this one is
Another new set.
I think these are the closest. No, it's not. They're not the closest, because I think the closest
Infernal
would still,
Affairs and Departed. Was
Infernal. Well, and those don't even win. I think the ones that
2
wins,
years, right?
Oh, is that only 2 years? Infernal Affairs.
yeah,
and
pretty
The
close.
Departed?
2 or 3.
What about Yojimbo? And
Oh yeah, that was like a year
that was
later.
like a year later. So I think
Always throws me off because Yojimbo's in black and white.
Yeah,
And so
and-
I just
it's also hard too, because back then there's just so little distribution. So one came
Yeah.
out like in the States 3 years later than, and it depends on where you even had access to it. So it did seem like coming to a different world. This one feels a little less like an homage because it's so modern. The first film came out in 2014, is that right? Mm-hmm. And the second one came out in 2021. So we're talking right now, folks. Right here.
well, and
right now.
it had the same producer, I believe. Mm-hmm. They had the rights to a remake, and so they went out to get it remade, as opposed to some American trying to snatch it up.
Brilliant. That's a
So that was
very
kind of interesting.
Some
savvy-
copycat that wouldn't give him credit.
Yeah, that's some savvy business move. I mean, it's kind of like in Yojimbo, he's making more money off of the Fistful of Dollars than he's making off of. So that's kind of
Exactly.
cool. I mean, at least he's getting paid for the right people. And I did think that, I was wondering that, because as soon as the second movie came on, I'm like, that's in the language of the first movie, and that's a producing company. So that made me wonder. So without further ado, Mariah, what 2 movies are going against each other in today's film fight?
The first one, La Famille Bélier,
Ooh, Bélier.
a French-Belgian movie.
Ooh, I didn't know the Belgian part.
Yeah, / and Coda.
That's right. 2021 Best Supporting Actor winning Coda.
Best
Picture
Picture
winning.
By the way, it also
And
won Best,
Best
Picture.
Supporting Actor.
I mean, Best Picture is fine, but Best Supporting Actor, people.
Yeah, good job, both of them.
That's so. Here we are, back on the Oscar trail. Just a year
Whether
before.
we wanted to,
And we
do it
just
or
can't
not.
leave it.
We just can't leave it. We've done Everything Everywhere at Once. We've done, of course, Oppen Barbie. Is that how you say it? Oppen Barbie? Oppen Arby?
That's correct.
Arby. She's called Arby.
We did Arby's.
So now we've gone the year back, and now we've done Coda. And Coda, which of course stands for
Child of Deaf Adults.
boom, boom, boom. And La Familia Bélier is just the name of the family. My family,
That's
the Béliers.
just their name.
That's just the
Stands
names.
for the Bélier family.
Yeah,
Yes.
not
Yeah.
as not
Very
as
different.
obvious in the title, but it's still very much there.
Also, a coda
I was going to say, that's what I thought it was. Because I didn't know that Coda meant that. I just knew the musical term, which is I was totally think. What does a Coda mean? Sorry, Pat, I cut you off.
Coda is a point where you go back in a song to repeat a certain section.
That's right. I was making that hand movement, and for those of you,
I appreciate that. I was like, I have, as a retired page turner, I've seen many Coda.
Yeah.
And I've panicked.
Oh wow!
It's all coming back to me now.
Oh, that's.
I do remember the
Stop
Coda.
it! Did you make that joke on purpose? Please, that's so good. It's all coming back to me now.
No.
Coda. I remember it vaguely because I was a terrible band student, not because I was a page turner. But I definitely
just in, guys.
Not good at band. Bad band man.
You're the only person who's been in a band.
You guys weren't in a
Of
band?
the three of us? No, in a band.
Was it?
Oh, sure.
We were all
I
in
was
band.
in band.
Yeah, we were in band. All three of us were in band.
We
I used
didn't
your old
start a
saxophone. I mean,
band.
come on. We should have.
I band. I did band.
Not a band.
It's like beach.
Like beach. You were band, Pat. You didn't even play an instrument. You were just in band.
I went there.
All right. Well, guys, like the French would have it, we're going to start off with the French. Because that's how it's going to be. Are we
doing our
hot takes,
not
cold brews?
Quite give it away hot takes?
Yes.
Also,
this is gonna be so
because
hard.
had you guys seen either of these
No.
before this?
No.
Mariah,
Okay.
no. Pat,
No.
So that's interesting too.
have you
I'd
seen
seen
it?
Coda.
Oh, so you did see it. So you saw it out of order than Mariah, because we both saw it with La Familia
See,
Bélier
I was
first.
thinking, wouldn't it have been cool to see Coda first, actually, in this
Really?
I
instance?
know. I'm very curious to see. The other way. So my cold brew hot take is Joni Mitchell is better than Michelle Sardou.
Oh, that is.
That's just facts.
No, that's just bad taste, guys. Come on.
These are facts.
These are
I mean,
facts.
did anyone cry watching Joni Mitchell at the, was it the Grammys?
I
I sure did.
But I'm like Patrick, heartless.
Sure.
What did I cry at? I cried at probably the twins part. Did I cry at that part? Probably.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Danny DeVito.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Batman.
Yeah, Batman. That was pretty good. John Cena cried at that for other reasons. Cold brew hot take. I think I have to really try hard not to give away my thoughts. But it really is. It doesn't matter which one of these you watch, but you should watch one of them.
Interesting.
It doesn't matter.
I think that is a hot take.
The hot take is it doesn't matter if you watch it in French or in English, but it should be watched. And it's interesting because I like the cultures, because you're thinking of a couple different cultures. The French high school scene didn't feel that foreign. It didn't feel like it was a completely different world.
Although age, we get into this later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yes.
Confusion around how old are any of these kids?
Yes. There's one part in particular that I'm sorry, this doesn't go with what's going on with the rest of that part. Mariah can talk into that, because this would be a Mariah expert part for sure. For reasons we'll talk about later. Dun 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 dun. To be continued. Okay, Mariah, cold brew hot take. What are you thinking? I know you're stumped. I can see it. Too many. Without giving away who you find the fight winner. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
I think for me, my hot take is the biggest difference between these two movies is how easy the choir auditions were for one, and how impossible the other one was.
It was so good.
The other one's you just go.
Yeah.
And the other, you actually have to be pretty good.
Spoiler, the American one's the easy one.
You can have an anxiety attack and run out and
Kind
you're
of?
in.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Because even
it's
she didn't even sing when she got in.
That plays true with our choir in high school too. That's legit.
But she did
So it wasn't-
later.
Okay,
She was
guys, we're
in
giving
right
away
away.
too much here. Okay, let's go into it, guys. The plot. Let's get through it real quick. The main star is a female who is not deaf, but all of her family is. Her two parents and her older brother.
Yes,
Older brother. So she is having.
Confusing.
Is
in
he
the French
older
one.
in both?
Yes, it's very
He's
confusing.
definitely older in the American one.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's older.
I
in
think
He
he's
might be
younger,
younger in the French.
He
one.
seemed younger.
I think
You're
he's
right.
younger in the French one.
You're right.
Yeah, because he's a man in the American one, and
Yeah.
he's not.
Well, that shines.
Everybody. The kids are both aged up more in
Yeah,
the
that
American
shines a
one.
pretty unflattering light on her best friend in the French one. Then
I suppose so, but it's okay, guys. So
come on, let's get to the plot.
We
she
can't get through it.
is struggling through high school of helping her family's business as basically being the main interpreter while discovering her love of singing and finding out that she's pretty good. And then she has to fight between the duties at home versus trying to follow her dream of singing
Yeah,
and stuff in between.
and then she makes a choice.
She makes a choice, and sometimes a couple choices, and there's a boy, and there's a best friend, and there's some sort of either mayor campaign or new business to start for them that's hinging on her participation. And everything goes sideways, and love happens, and love goes away, and love happens again. So there we go. That was a very, very
Spoilers.
all of it.
Spoilers.
So we don't have to spoil the end right now, though. We can that's still kind of like we didn't say
Not
who
yet,
was what.
but
Yeah.
I would say in a general way.
Yeah, for
If
sure.
if you've ever listened to this podcast before,
It's got spoilers.
you know
folks.
we just spoil
yeah,
Yeah.
basically right away.
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, and this movie doesn't have an unexpected twist. I
No.
mean, you know what's going to
No.
happen, really. It's a little predictable.
yeah,
I think that's true for both of these in a way. But like, what's interesting is there's tropes that if you do them poorly, it makes a very poor product. And then there's movies that can lean into tropes and expectations, but like nail them.
You don't.
And
Yeah,
it's
you don't
so
mind.
great.
You're like, that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
This was
it's like
a
yes,
great movie.
feed me this thing I need to have happen.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
do it with enough twists, and just craft being good that you go, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it's totally
the
predictable.
Holdovers pulled it off.
pulled it off. And then some.
Any sports movie,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yes, exactly right. It's not new, but it can be done
I think-
poorly and it can be done well.
I think actually there is a version of this movie follows the sports movie kind of path where
Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah.
a
you're
talented
really-
kid
Yeah. It counts as
is
yeah.
getting pulled away from their family and
Yeah.
whatever.
You're really
and-
good at this. You could go to college. You could,
But
Yeah.
Papa still needs me on that coal mine. That coal isn't going to mine itself.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I know.
That's all I know.
Sort of
Pops, I got the black lung.
Ruby.
But yeah, okay,
Rudy.
so
You say Ruby or Rudy?
Well, the girl is Ruby.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. That's high five.
Like,
That would have been your best
Terrible.
hot tape. This is the best version of Ruby I've
yeah,
ever seen.
Yeah.
New hot take.
I'm curious because you both saw La Familia
Bélier, that's
Bélier
Mm-hmm.
first. And I guess what was your kind of initial take on it? I guess in general.
That was great. At first take, I was like, this is great. I love
Yeah.
this. There's some awkward things that you can do in American cinema, of course. I thought there was a couple takes in there. I'm like, yeah, teachers don't touch students. That's weird. And some other things too. I'm like, oh, this is but it still felt so watchable. I would watch it with my family, with Megan. I think it'd be so fun.
Extremely watchable. One of those. I mean, also for the non-speaking parts, which I think.
Oh, so good.
What did they say? I don't know if it was that one or Coda. Like 40% of it is not speaking.
Signed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know that.
yeah, it was a very easy to watch foreign film. I mean, you weren't sitting there going, "Oh, I'm."
Yeah. What was it like for you seeing Coda already? Were you like, oh, that's okay, I see where that came from? Was it just the whole time?
It was pretty interesting because, I had all these expectations about how the story was going to go. And then there's elements that they add in and you're like,
switch,
huh,
yeah.
why is that in there? Or how's that going to go? And so they were different enough that I couldn't totally predict everything.
Yeah.
And even just pretty major plot points being different where you're like, huh, I wonder what this even is. Not that they mattered in the scheme of the movie per se, which may be a dig, but like you go, oh, like running for mayor is very different than trying to start a co-op.
Didn't have the same weight to it in some senses to me.
Right. But also I would predict, and we'll find out soon enough, that Patrick would really prefer the French version because there is so much less teen angst feeling kind of insertion. There's a lot less relational. That's a guess here, but that's what I'm thinking.
That's interesting.
That might be why you would pick the French
you're
one.
cold-hearted, Pat.
I'm not gonna give it away.
You don't have to, but
that's funny.
I'm foreshadowing this conversation.
I assume, Mariah, you're also going to go for the French one. If we're making guesses here, just because of, well, you said the Joni Mitchell comment though.
Me? Oh, Mariah.
Yeah. So maybe Joni Mitchell swung you over, but
it's not that I was picking one song over the other, but the performance of her
and you might
Joni was better.
Okay.
The original.
Okay.
And I don't know about the original.
I'm gonna say
so.
Mariah's gonna pick the American one.
Oh.
Okay, so
typical.
Yep, typical.
I'm gonna say
typical.
Seth's
You
gonna pick
thinking
French.
you know me?
You don't know me, Pat.
Because
you don't know me.
He wants to be snobbier.
You don't know.
And
you don't know
when
me.
When in doubt, just go French. I say.
It's got great.
great
toast. Great kisses.
Yeah, Where was I even going with this? You really lost me with the kisses.
Seth went on a French thing.
You lost me with the kiss.
Yeah.
I
get it now. I get it now. But my brain did not understand.
You found me with the kiss, though, Pat. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Between
No,
me
it
and
was. I think what was cool and about doing any of this stuff is it is basically the exact same plot, but being set in a different country with a different sort of backdrop of fishing versus farming, and
that's cool.
It's such a different movie in a lot of ways, even though it's the exact same movie. I just find that so interesting, and even just the different takes of the actors. Like, so to me, the French music teacher versus the American music teacher is like. It's like they have the same flavor of like kind of eccentric,
a little flamboyant, got some scarves going on.
Yeah, a little flamboyant, but like also really different takes on it in a way. I don't know. It was just
tough. Both like
and also the
nonsense.
American version,
funny but serious. Yeah.
The teacher isn't American.
Oh, he's American. No. He's just from another country.
Well. Yes.
Jeez, Mariah.
Oh yeah, he might be.
Sure, he's a citizen.
We're all, unless you're Native American, we're all from other countries.
Right.
I keep going over this.
Pot.
Oh my gosh,
I'm sorry.
It's so embarrassing.
Well, he could be a South American. He could be a Central American. I don't know where he's actually from. Maybe he's Spanish.
They say it in the movie.
Where did he say he was from?
I don't remember.
We should know this. Research team will get on this.
They might.
Beep, boop, boop, beep, 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 beep.
Mariah's got like a scroll over here.
We don't know.
It's impossible to know.
Determined.
So let's talk about some of the things. Let's start. Do we want to do like back and forth, or do you just want to start with the first movie and go from there? Because La Familia Bélier, it's so. The big difference on the Wikipedia page is she's 16. Oh shit! Yeah,
he's North American. So he's very American.
There we go. He's North American. She's 16 in the French one. She's 17 in the American one. That's what they say.
16.
Yeah. Which that checks out. Her friend could be very much 16-year-old. That's checks out.
Yeah. That's fine.
But she's auditioning for a college, right?
Yeah. No.
I didn't think
She's
so.
not-
It's
Yes.
basically she would finish high school at this kind of performing arts school, the
Yes.
French radio.
Right.
So it's more of
What
a transfer
threw me off-
thing.
Yes, and the word
Yeah,
college doesn't mean university.
No.
There's colleges in high school. Like I worked at the college in Hong Kong, and it's from the British system. And I just assume France is close enough to Britain.
Yeah,
it's closer to the
same
same
thing,
thing.
They're
Because
right
like
there.
colleges are like the schools, like the math department. It's the college of whatever. It's more like
Okay.
departments for us in America.
Okay.
So
So the two elements to me in the French version that I was like, how old are these kids? What is happening? Our lead hasn't had her period yet.
that was the craziest. That made no sense to me.
I mean,
Mariah?
16
people
is
can have late
very-
periods,
Pretty
but
late.
Just
seem
saying.
pretty late, especially because her friend is so,
Promiscuous.
promiscuous.
Yeah.
You go,
And
how
that
old are you?
And that it came on right there in that moment.
Yeah.
And she knew it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
you'd run out of the room.
Well, and like really bled
It's not
through
like
her
your
pants
water
in like
broke or
5
something.
minutes.
It makes me think a guy wrote it. I literally thought, like, what guy wrote this?
Yeah.
Well, because it was like really like,
Yeah.
a flood of blood happened. It was like, I don't know if that's quite how
And
it
her
goes.
mom is just running around with the
Oh, it's
underwear.
so funny.
Like, look.
I mean,
That's
I
I
pretty-
think
do
it was like her jeans.
I
and her
feel-
jeans
Yeah.
were like
feel
soaked
like
through.
the French
It's
one
like,
was
what?
trying to push the crazy awkwardness of it. They're just pushing the
Yeah,
awkward.
and they delivered. I
way
mean, it
more
was
than English.
humiliating. Like, you
Yeah.
were
Yes.
cringing. You were just like, oh my gosh, of course he would run out of there.
I did like
Yeah.
in the American one because they had the parents having sex in the other room when the friend was over in the French one, and they had the parents having sex
Yes.
over. I thought that was a good one because I'm like, you still need that embarrassment, but without the period scene. And I always thought that was a good way to do it, which I thought
Yeah.
that was a good switcheroo. So
Yeah.
that was
But so that was like age confusion number one.
Mm-hmm.
The second was with the boy
yes.
who also wanted to
Yes.
audition. They're like, oh, his voice broke. And I thought when that first happened, it was like, oh, he got some throat thing, laryngitis,
like it was an injury
or he
to
lost.
his
Yeah,
voice
like
box
something
or
happened.
something. Yeah.
And it's like, no, he's just going through puberty enough that like his voice dropped
Yeah.
and he doesn't have a falsetto anymore.
sure
but it was
make
like
you think
he
these-
sounded the same. Either
I mean-
side of it.
Yeah, for a minute there, I thought maybe he was just faking that so that he didn't have to somehow. Like, he backed out. Because
Yeah.
in the American version, he says, oh, I choked, basically.
Yeah, he
Like-
just didn't do well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of lazy.
But-
they
but-
lazy wrote him out in the American one. I will say that though.
Yeah.
But what 17, 18-year-old voice hasn't dropped?
Well, when you're
So it became this
you're
like, why are you
16
auditioning?
yeah.
Like, how young do the boys have to be at
Are
this
they
school?
are they up in the French Alps? Is this like an altitude thing?
I don't know. I did
like,
not.
does puberty come on
my
slower
voice.
and
I went through puberty in Tibet when I was living there.
Again?
Yeah, again. So it was weird. It was the altitude.
so maybe that's it.
That's it.
Maybe
That's what
it's
it
an
was.
yeah.
What's happening?
We really should have done some more research
We did
here.
not.
I'm
Because
so high.
I feel like they're
up in
talking
the
about.
mountain.
I feel like they were originally writing it for junior hires. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like they're whoever
So
wrote
the-
it, and then they said like, no, you can't have junior hires having
So
sex.
the adaptation
and so they switched
for,
it to high school.
from the screenplay to
Except
the movie
that I think
was,
her brother might have been a junior hire. I don't know.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I feel like he didn't go to school. I feel like he just
Yeah,
hung
or
out
he
at
went to a
home and
deaf
watched
school.
video game.
They didn't get into it,
No, they
but
didn't.
maybe he went to a deaf school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so much more believable in the American version because the guy's like, yeah, he's a stud muffin. That makes sense. And the other one's like, he's a little dude. And
Yeah, just because he was teaching her
and like
sign language a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
she's just like, yeah,
or
I'll have sex with you.
yeah, well, he was teaching her sign language, but very touchy teaching. But they're French. They
Oh,
are
yeah.
touchier people.
The American version, they
Whew.
become an item. I don't think they're dating in the French
No.
version.
Oh, and the Affleck
Because she's kind of
seizure.
dating everybody.
And the seizure cracked me up too. Like that. I mean, they didn't have that at all in the American one. But like he gets they call the doctor. Remember that scene?
Oh,
With the condom and everything else?
Oh,
Yes.
shock from the
forgot
latex
about
allergy.
The latex.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
funny.
there's so many like inappropriate
Yeah.
things that wouldn't fly in
couldn't do it in
American
America.
film
Yeah.
without changing the rating anyway.
Oh, good
Also,
point, yeah.
that felt like
Because the
pretty.
American was on the line PG-13 rated R
Really?
anyway,
yeah,
and
'cause
they
of the language.
Oh,
they got it to
yeah.
PG-13. But if they had added any of that other stuff,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it for sure would have been rated R.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting, like all the sexual stuff, because the parents are super open and sexual in both movies.
Yep.
But then, like, when the dad thought our lead had sex, maybe he like slapped her.
In the French movie.
Yeah, in the French movie, but then like the son doing it, and it was like no big deal, and it was just like, yeah, that's kind of problematic. I mean, that's very common, I think, right? Like
Yeah.
The French one was interesting though because
consequences for ladies are
It
bigger.
wasn't slapping because what was it? It was like he didn't slap her because she was sleeping with him, but it was like there was a little more angle to it, and I forgot because I was watching that and I was like, oh wait, what? Why? And then she's like, no, it's not like that. It was
Yeah,
explained.
it's confusing.
Yeah, I was a little confused. And
Also, there's just way
yeah.
more slapping in the French one.
there's a lot more touching, just in general.
A little
of
more
touching.
of everything.
Now, I will say the classic example we used to talk about is an English couple having tea, a French couple having tea, and like an American couple having tea, and you count how many times they touch each other, and like the English couple is 0.
not touching anybody.
Easily.
The French couple is like a couple hundred, and the Americans are like 35 or something. Like it's just this weird. It's like this very. Some cultures are just a lot touchier, and French is way up there. Like they kiss on the cheeks when they say hello. Like I think, yeah. I mean, the joke is everyone's kind of having an affair anyways. Like that's just like the joke of French culture. So. Yeah, it's very interesting with that in high school culture. Like the part that, of course, made us all uncomfortable in the French movie was when the choir teacher, which this isn't a bad thing, was putting his hand on the female student's diaphragm, making sure that she's breathing
like,
enough.
You can't do that anymore.
You can't do that anymore. But it's not like it was sexual in any way, shape, or form. No. It just makes us uncomfortable in 2024 in America. Mm-hmm. And if it was like your dad, that's fine. Like, or whatever it is, like in a super safe situation. Because like, yeah, good voice coach is going to make sure you're breathing right. But it was just like, oh, this is not America.
Yeah, it felt weird. And you don't know the guy yet too. And so there's a lot of like, we hadn't built up trust in that character yet.
Yeah.
And so because he's kind of, he's a big jerk. He was more of a jerk than the American teacher for sure out of the gate.
Yes, I enjoyed him a little bit more because of that, because he was just
I mean, it was fun.
No soup for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
weird that the audition process was so strict, considering it just was the school choir.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like it wasn't a big deal anyway. There was a lot of stuff there where I was like, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah,
he's yelling about getting transferred to a better school.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have to be
don't
here
know enough
2 more
about how
years.
French education system works, and so that was kind of an interesting. Like, are you on contract to this crappy school, but you can transfer to like a more prestigious one later?
And it did seem like it was just another elective. It wasn't like this is such a pristine choir.
In both versions, they're like in line to just sign up for their electives and look over and
like
says, choir? I'll do choir.
Yeah. It's not like High School Musical where they have to like get up there and really sing. You know
I've
what I mean?
still never seen High School Musical.
I've only seen all 3.
I don't think it's a hot take. I don't think either of the boys sang all that well.
I think that was on purpose, though.
They were fine.
I think they're supposed to have good voices.
Yeah.
But it was just like, okay.
They're good.
I don't enjoy your voices.
Supporting singer.
Yeah. They didn't want to outshine the star pack. Come on.
Yeah. But
Well,
in the
yeah, I
French,
mean, and they
in the
didn't
French version,
get
he,
into the school.
he
or
had
whatever.
more of a reputation for having the amazing voice.
Yes.
I feel like.
Guys,
He came in as kind of a hot shot.
if you've seen High School Musical, you know that Sharpay has to outshine her brother. Like, you just got to know this thing. I'm just going to do High School Musicals the rest of this podcast. That's
Great.
all I'm doing is
Yeah.
just referencing
Well,
High
it's,
School
you know,
Musical.
I feel like the boys are still in a. Well, maybe it's the second movie where Zac Efron actually starts singing.
Yeah.
He's dubbed over in the first one.
He
right?
is, and it's pretty hilarious, but Sharpay's not. She brings it. That actress?
Yeah, the rest of them I think
Brings
I'll
it.
sing fine.
Sharpay.
Yeah, so are we ready? Are you guys ready for me to start really leaning into what movie I like more?
Are we deciding about
we going?
yeast infection versus jock itch?
Oh my
Is
gosh,
that what
that
we're-
is the best. Let's talk about the stuff they did the same that I was very grateful for. Obviously, having to translate for your parents' sexual behaviors, that was perfect.
Yes, very funny. And
and
the line,
apparently in the
although
dub-
I think the American one, she was like, forever.
Yeah.
You know, like you just have to stop. And they're like, wait, what?
That was good. That was a good. I like that twist.
I
thought-
appreciate that.
that caught me left side. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty funny.
And honestly, in that version too, the jock itch made sense. I mean, they're on a boat. There's moisture. Like I can see
the
how
French
people would.
one was crazy.
It was like
Boils.
leave alone somebody going through.
And it's okay. I'll give you a BJ instead.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so in front of their daughter. I'm like, okay, this is. We're gonna have to change the rating of this podcast just because talking about this movie.
Yeah,
Well-
this is definitely.
yeah.
That's actually, I guess before we go any further, we said this earlier. This is like a family. They're both kind of family movies, but with like the most mature
Yeah.
content in a lot of ways of a family movie.
Yeah.
Something about how comfortable the characters are talking about all this makes it feel fine.
Yep.
You know, be like, no, it's, you know, like they're not shamed about any of it. I thought that was really interesting because I did watch Coda with my kids and they loved it.
Yeah.
And
That's fun.
It's like, yeah, there's, you know, sexual content and swearing and stuff, but it felt very approachable or something, possibly because it's mostly in sign language. You can like
And
maybe get away with that.
well,
a little
it's
bit
toned
more.
down enough to be PG-13. You know, they
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're
But they're still
riding
saying
that
like
line, though.
all the words and talking pretty explicitly, and you know, it's not.
They only use the F word once. Once, and it was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
in
Anyway.
that one. Yeah.
I thought the mom and the dad were so close in both movies. They felt so similar in both movies, and that's not a bad thing. I thought they were both really true to like each other. Like I felt like you could switch either mom and switch to either dad, and it'd been fine.
I think they both felt like a convincing,
Yes.
loving couple of a.
I did like the
certain
American dad
insanity.
a little more, just because there was more. There seemed to be a little bit more things heightened in the American version. We can talk about that later, of course. But I did like how the mom and dad felt very similar. And meanwhile, the brothers are nothing alike.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if in the French version they had worked together before, but in the American version they certainly had worked together before. The couple and the son.
Yep.
Yeah. The best friend was very different, I felt like she was very different. Maybe because she just felt so much younger. She felt more legit
In the French one?
She felt more legit high schooler in the French one. Because she wasn't like she felt like she was in her 20s or something.
Well, yeah,
in
in the
the
American
American
one,
one.
she's working in a bar.
Oh yeah.
And you're like,
it's like
you'd
yeah.
have
And
to
they're
be
like,
at
"Oh,
least
they don't
be
care how old I am."
18 to be serving something, I think. And
Yeah.
And that's
I
Yeah. I
guess
mean,
you're
to
in-
me, they're seniors, and so it's like she could be 18,
that's true.
yeah.
but
for sure.
also she was like, they don't care how old I am,
Yeah,
you know.
true.
Yeah. So those things, of course, the job, the smelling like the farm or smelling like that was good. I like that similarity. Hard work. Yeah, that was all. And the mom being pretty and like kind of like a beauty pageant
Yeah,
type
I
thing. thought
kind
that
of
was pretty
loved
sweet.
that the French version had her like talking about, well, when I was when I was in the pageant, or, you know,
Yes.
when I was modeling, or when, you know, she kept bringing it up, which I thought was an
Yeah.
extra added humor to the movie too.
They mention it in the American one, but they don't keep the
But
joke
Marley
going as long.
Matlin's
Well,
not
yeah,
sitting
no.
there like beating everybody to death with
No,
the
yeah, Troy Kotzer makes it more. He's more like, "Oh, your mom is so hot." You
Yeah,
know, like,
oh, it's so funny. Oh, he's
so
good.
that adds to the charming.
Yeah.
Like they're so loving that they just don't even care how kind of inappropriate or awkward
Oh,
they're
yeah.
making everything around them. Like, and it really does like, oh yeah, okay, I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
Like you guys are just adorable in how loving you are.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
here,
good stuff.
spoiler stuff. The audition scene was basically beat for beat. The goodbye scene was beat for beat. The opening scene was like the beginning and ending of this movie was beat for beat exactly the same. Like they were just and it was perfect. That's great. I think that was like the heights of both the movies, so that was great.
Oh yeah, the other bits I guess that were in both. I loved cutting to silence in the middle of the choir concert.
It
I
was
think
so
that's
good.
such an
Having
interesting.
them look around and watching people's face. I feel like they did a better job of that in the American one.
I'll be
You were
honest,
more
though,
in their headspace.
You're
was
more,
like the American one.
you're more in their headspace.
They
They
did it-
both were great.
They did it longer than the American one. That's kind of why I think they did because in
Maybe.
the French one, I was watching it, of course, like watching it, but not like not like I'm like okay, it's a song part, so you can kind of zone out.
Yeah.
But then it cut the sound like hello.
Yeah, that really bothered Finn. Because he watched the second half of it with me, and he was like, stop it. Like, he understood what they were doing. He was like,
he wanted
I
to
want to
hear
hear
their
the
singing.
song. I want to hear the song.
and I love that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And they did it, quote unquote, better in the American one because they kept it going longer through the applause. And through the high point of the song. And they also we saw the dad see the tears of the audience members. Before, like in the French one, they had to kind of explain what people were saying around him. So that was kind of an interesting one as well. So that was, I think the American saw how well it worked in the French one. And
the
added to
emotion
it.
was heightened too, because you saw them signing more, and you saw her reading what they were signing
Oh, that was
while
awkward.
she was singing too. So you're like, oh, like there's just so much, oh no. And what's
Yeah,
she
what do you
doing?
want
Is
for
she going to
dinner?
lose it while she's singing? Like, because she
Yeah.
sees that they're, but she was still really happy that they came. Like there was
it
a lot of up
Yeah.
and down in that whole.
Okay, Pat, I want to do some of that before we want to do this.
I would say
okay.
I also loved the dad asking her to sing again for
Oh
him.
my gosh, that's the best part of the movie. The best part of the movie.
So
Really